Hello there, welcome to the second part of this tutorial. In the first part, I shared the pattern drafting and cutting, while here I'll be sharing how I sewed and assembled everything together for this beautiful dress. So you can see how mine turned out. I absolutely love the outcome. And now without wasting any more time, please do well to watch this video to the end. Like this video, share, subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and let us get on with it. Now these are all the pieces I have cut out. I have the front pieces right here, the center front, side front, the cape for the chest area, and the piece for the gathers that goes from the front to the back. I've just brought in my center back and side back pieces, and then the other fabric for the gathers for the other side. Now I've gone ahead to also cut out lining pieces for this front part and for the back as well, but the lining is not a full lining. It's just going to stop somewhere on the underbust line for the front piece, and the lining for the back piece is just about 5 inches in length. So you can go ahead and cut out a full lining if you want to fully line your dress. So you just cut it out the exact same way you've cut out the first fabric. Now if you've not watched the first part of this tutorial, please do well to check that out so that you don't get confused with what I'm doing here. Okay, it's just the video right before this one. Now I'll start sewing them together. These are the front pieces. I'm placing the side front on the center front, right sides together, and then I'm just going to make a straight stitch from the top, following the curve of the bust area, and then down to where I have the hip line, just right there. Now I'll do the same thing for the back pieces as well. I'll place the side back on the center back pieces, and then I'm just going to sew a straight stitch across because I cut out my dart, so that's why I have center back and side back joinings. Okay, so I'm just going to place it this way, and I'll just use my pins to hold it in place for now, and I'll sew it straight from the top downwards. So what I'm doing for the main pieces, I'm going to do to the lining pieces. So I'm sewing the lining pieces separately. I'll place the center back of the lining and the side back, and I'm just going to place them right sides facing and make a straight stitch across. I'll do the same thing for the front part. Place the side front on top of the center front and sew it. I decided to just record while I was sewing, so just enjoy the footage. There is nothing much I have to say here. Alright, after joining the center back and side back pieces and center front and side front pieces, this is what I have here. And I'm going to place the front piece on the back piece, right sides facing, so that I can shape up the sides. But before I do that, I'll try to iron it properly. I'll open up all the seams I have just sewn here and give it a very good press. Then I'm just going to arrange it this way, and then I'll shape up the sides. I added about 1.25 inches of allowance for sewing, so I'm just going to take it off from here. That's what I'm going to be shaping it up by. But I'm just going to advise that you take your actual body measurements before you shape up a dress, because some fabrics might have a little stretch, so you just want to be on the safer side. Now what I have done for that main fabric, I'm going to do this to the lining pieces as well. I'll place the front on the back pieces, right sides facing, and I'm going to shape up the sides also. Now this is it after sewing the sides of the main fabric. I'm going ahead to trim off a little of the excess allowance, and now I can proceed to turn it over with my lining. So I'll bring the lining piece that I have joined the front and the back together as well, and I'll place it on the main fabric. But now before I turn it over with the lining, I have to first attach my sleeve and also attach the cape that is around the chest area in front, so that when I turn it over, everything goes in neatly. Okay, so I'm just going to place this aside so that I can work on the sleeve. Now I'm bringing in the patterns I drafted earlier from shoulder to neck depth. You know, I measured out 2 inches for the strap or the band of the sleeve. Now I changed my mind. It seemed that 2 inches would have been too big, so I wanted to make it smaller, so I reduced it to 1.5 inches instead. So measuring from the armhole curve inwards, 1.5 inches, and I'm just going to blend it out this way. I made the corrections to both patterns, even if I'm just basically working with one for now. Now I'm just going to go ahead and start drafting out the sleeve. I'll bring in my basic sleeve pattern. Now if you don't know how to draft a basic sleeve pattern, I have a detailed tutorial for that on my channel, so you can do well to check that out. So I'll go ahead and trace out this basic sleeve pattern from shoulder to my biceps point. So that's about 5 inches, including about ½ inch of allowance. So I'll just trace that out, just the slight curve, and then I'm going to proceed to draw out the new sleeve from here. Now the sleeve I'm trying to draft kind of has like a sharp pointy edge. You can see it from the image there. So I don't know the name of the sleeve. If you do, please let me know. Now right here, I'm just trying to illustrate and see how it will look from the actual armhole here. So I think if I had just done it this way, it would have been much easier for me, but I decided to draft it from my sleeve pattern instead. So when I did it out here, it was looking okay, but then I went ahead to just try and see if I could do it properly from the sleeve pattern. So this is kind of how the sleeve is supposed to look. So now I'm just going to go ahead and take accurate proper measurements on this other side. So the measurement you're going to need will be half of your arm measurement. Now I don't know if I'm making that up, but you're going to have to measure from the center of your armhole in front. Place the tape to go around your arm to the center of your armhole behind. That is the measurement I used here. I went on to divide that measurement into two, and what I had was about 4.5 inches. I added 1 inch for ease, allowance for ease, and I was supposed to add about ½ inch for sewing allowance as well. That's to attach it to the band or the strap. So that's what I've measured inwards straight, as you can see. And then now for the length of the sleeve, it's not going around the armhole, right? So it's going to stop at the center of the armhole. So from my shoulder down to the center of my armhole is about 3.75 inches. That is what I measured downwards. And then I'm just going to blend the curve inwards this way. So it is mostly freestyle we're doing here. I'm just going to blend it in this way. Okay, this is my first time drafting out the sleeve, so please try to understand with me. Now I'll go ahead and just cut out the strap so that I can get that little armhole curve from this band. And now that I've cut that out, I'm just going to mark the midpoint of the armhole on the band as well, and I'll go ahead and just trace out the curve. It's just a very slight curve. I'm going to trace that out on the sleeve, the other part of the sleeve, just so that it's going to be easy for me when I'm attaching it together. Okay, now that I've done that, I can proceed to cut it out. Also note that this very straight part is going to be cut out on a fold when I'm cutting it out on the fabric, but we're going to see that eventually. Now I'm done cutting it out, placing these two pieces together. I think I'm beginning to see the vision. I hope you can see it too. Now let's just proceed. I'll go ahead and cut the pieces out on the fabric. I'm going to place my fabric on a fold. Hope you can see how I'm placing it. I'll cut out the strap first. I'm cutting out the front and the back strap together. So the shoulder part is not going to have any joining. It's just going to be one piece. You can see how I was trying to illustrate it here. So the top part is going to be on a fold. Where the shoulder is supposed to have a joining, it's just going to be a smooth transition from front to back without any joining. I'll go ahead and add 0.5 inches of allowance all the other parts, and then I'll just cut it out this way. I'll use the same paper to cut out a second strap. So we're cutting for the left and the right shoulder, or the left and the right sleeve. I just made a little notch so I know the part that is going toward the armhole. Now I'll add the allowance. I need to add 0.5 inches all around except for the part that is folded. I'll notch the part toward the armhole, and then I'm going to use this to cut out 2 extra pieces. So what I've cut out here is like the main band piece, or the main strap piece, however you call it. Now I'm going to use this to cut out 2 extra pieces again that's going to serve as the lining. Alright, I'm done with the straps now. I'll go ahead and cut out the other part of the sleeve. So I'll place my fabric on a fold again. Like I said, the straight part is going to be on the folded edge. So the straight part is going to be folded. I'll add 0.5 inches of allowance all around except for the folded edge. I'll use this to cut out another one for the left part of the sleeve. After cutting it out, I'll go ahead to start sewing. So I'll bring in the straps again. I'll make a notch at the middle so I know the exact center point. Now for this second half of the sleeve, I'll first of all sew the top. Okay, so that top part is going to have a joining. I will make a straight stitch at the top before I join it to the strap. So taking it to my machine now, I'll sew a straight stitch at the top, just like I said I would, on the 2 sleeves. After that, I'm going to go ahead to attach it to the band. But then when I looked at it and tried to put it on my shoulders, it was looking too pointy at the top. I know it is a pointy sleeve, but I decided to just come down from that very sharp edge by 1 inch and slant it this way, so that it's not just high up there. We're not raising shoulders for anybody. So after slanting it, just go ahead and make the adjustments on your pattern. Mark down 1 inch from the very pointy edge where you have the folded edge, and then just slant it inwards. You can see what I'm doing. After that, when I place this on here, you can see how it is looking. I still have the allowance all around. Okay, now I went ahead to re-sew it again, and now I'll turn it over to the right side, and now I'll place the right side of the sleeve on the right side of the strap, making sure that the center points align exactly the same place. Okay, I'll use my pins to hold it in place for now, and then I'll take it to my machine and just make a straight stitch across. I'll do the exact same thing to this other sleeve. I'm going to place the sleeve fabric on top of the strap fabric, making sure that the center points are aligned together, and I'll make a straight stitch across. But before I attach it, I'll go ahead and just hem around the ends of the sleeve so that it's just going to be easy for me to attach it and not have issues when I want to hem it later. So you can see here I've attached it. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over with the lining piece. So this is the lining piece I cut out for the strap. Now to neatly attach this lining piece, I'm going to go ahead and fold in this sleeve. So just watch what I am doing. I'll fold the sleeve inwards this way. The sleeve is folded on the right side of the strap. And then I'm going to place the right side of the lining of the strap on top of it. I'll use my pins to hold it in place. You have to be very careful when you're doing this. And then I'm going to make a straight stitch on the two sides. You know, there is a little allowance where the sleeve was attached to the strap initially, so it is on that allowance I'm going to sew, and this other side I'm going to sew it with 1/2 inch. So you make sure that the sleeve is fully inside the strap so that you don't sew on top of the sleeve. So while you're sewing, make sure you keep pushing in the sleeve. Try to take your time with it, no rush, and by the time you're done, you have two open edges. So the other top edge that is about 1.5 inches wide, and this other bottom edge, you're going to leave it open so that you can pass the sleeve out from there when you're done. I'm going to show you how I did that here. Now I'm done sewing it, I'll try to bring out the sleeve so that I can separate the sleeve from the strap and they can both have their standing in life. So I'm just going to bring it out so you can see the sleeve and the strap separately. You carefully do that. It might be stiff at some point, but you try to bring it out properly and also give it a very good press when you're done. So this is how it looks right here. I know the vision is clearer now. I've done this to the other sleeve as well. Now our sleeve is ready. The next thing I'm going to do is to work on the cape. Now these are the pieces I have for the cape. I have two pairs. One is for the main fabric and then the other one is for the lining. I've just placed the lining on the main fabric right sides together, and I'll go ahead and just sew around except for the top. So this is it after sewing it around, except for the top and the side rather. Now I'm going to turn it over to the right side, give it a good press, and then I'll proceed to attach it to the main dress. Now our dress is finally back inside. I'm going to bring in the cape and place it on the chest of the dress. Now this cape goes right into the side, so it has some sewing allowance and it goes into the side of the dress. And you know I already joined the front and the back of the dress together, so I had to loosen up a little bit to accommodate the cape as well. Now I'll place the cape on the right side of the dress, so the right side of the cape on the right side of the dress along the chest line, and I'll make sure that the other side goes into the side seam as well. Please just pay attention to what I'm doing. After placing the cape and using my pins to hold it down for now, I'm going to bring in the sleeve and place it on top of the cape. So the cape goes on top of the dress first and then the sleeve follows. So I'm placing the strap of that sleeve just toward the armhole, 1/2 inch away from the armhole. That 1/2 inch is just to turn it over with the lining. Now I'm just going to place it this way, right sides together. So just take note of how you're placing it so that you don't have any mix up later on. I'll do the same thing to this other side. I'll make sure to shape up the side again before attaching the sleeve. Okay, now just to make you understand how I am attaching the sleeve in case you're confused, this is how the sleeve is going to be placed at the top. You can see, right? Imagine the back was actually placed behind. One strap is going in front and the other strap behind. So one here, just like that. Very easy. I'm going to just pin it right sides facing, 1/2 inch away from the armhole, the front part. I'll do the same thing to the back strap as well, 1/2 inch away from the armhole. Now I'm going to bring in our lining piece. I have not ironed my seams open yet, don't judge me. I'm going to do it. So I'm going to place it right at the top there, and I'll sew along the entire top with 0.5 inches of allowance. Make sure you're sewing it very tightly so that it doesn't rip off. There's a lot of things on top of the other things, so it has to be really strong. Okay, so I'll just sew it with 1/2 inch all around, follow the exact shape into the zipper allowance. Now I'm done sewing, I'll go ahead and make notches all around, trim off some of the edges, and then turn it over to the right side and give it a very good press. And after ironing properly, we can proceed to work on our gathers. I'll bring in the two pieces for the gathers, and you know I made notches on them for where I want the gathers to start and where I want it to end. You can see the notches right here. I'll move to my machine now to sew a gather stitch from one notch all the way to the other notch. Okay, then I'm going to pick one of the threads and just gather it to fit the space I want the gathers to be. So we're just going to go ahead and do that now, and we'll be back here. So make sure you set your machine to sew the most loose thread, and you can go ahead and start sewing. I like to drag the fabric while I'm sewing gathers so that it makes the thread even more loose and it's easier for me to gather it afterwards. Now I've gotten to the other notch, I'm just going to stop right there. I'll pick one of the threads and start gathering it. Alright, I'm done gathering down. I did that to the 2 pieces I cut out. And now for a proper guide, I'll go ahead and just measure out the space I want the gathers to be. You know I made notches on this straight part of the dress, so please, if you've not watched the other part, go ahead and watch it so you don't feel lost. Okay, what I've measured out there is about 17.5 inches. I'm going to measure it on the gathers to make sure I have gathered enough to fit 17.5 inches, and what I have there is about 17.5 to 18 inches. So I'll just go ahead and sew it now, the 2 sides. I'll place them right sides together. I'm going to fit one notch to the other notch, use my pins to hold it down first, and then I'll sew from one end, from the hemline, all around, making sure that the gathers fit into where it is supposed to fit, and then all around to the back part down to the hemline as well. Of course, I'll do the exact same thing to the other side. Let's call the other side the left side. So I'll place it right sides together, the gathers piece on the straight piece, and sew it all around, and voila, I'm done, just like magic. So after I was done here, I decided to line this gathers part to give it a bit of fullness. I was contemplating if I should use a lining because the fabric I used here is a bit thick, but after I was done here, or rather after I got to this stage and I put the dress on my body, I saw that that area, the gathers area, was not very full. It was full, it's manageable considering the fabric I used, but it's not full enough. So I went out to cut out a lining piece exactly the same way I cut out the fabric for the gathers. So with the same width, the only difference is that the lining is slightly shorter than the main fabric of the gathers so that it doesn't show on the outside. Okay, so just about 2 inches or 1.5 inches shorter. I'm just going to go ahead and sew it and make mini pleats on the lining. So I'll sew the lining on the wrong side of this gathers part, just on the little allowance I have there, so that I don't end up sewing the main fabric. Hope you get. So I'm just going to attach the lining inside this way so that the lining can puff inside and give that gathers area a bit of fullness. I think some people even add hard net inside, and some people also double the lining. So I'll just advise you add a lining depending on the kind of fabric you're using. Now we're at the very last lap. I'll go ahead and attach my zipper to the center back. I'll close up the rest of the center back, and then I'll hem the ends of the main fabric and of the lining piece as well. And this is it. As you can see, my zip has been attached. I've gone ahead to hem the ends of the main fabric and of the lining piece inside. Now turning it over to the front, you can go ahead and attach buttons to the center front from the top down, but I decided to leave mine as it is. And now we've come to the end of this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please do well to give it a thumbs up, share this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't, drop a comment if you have any questions, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye for now.